This is Grand Tacticians, the Civil War, the Confederate campaign. We started this in spring of 1861. In this episode, we see Albert Sidney Johnston's Army of the West have to change his campaign plans for Illinois. Beauregard's army out east tries to finally break the siege around Washington, D.C. That and much more in the latest episode of Grand Tactician, the Civil War. It is March 25th, 1862, and things are starting to get very interesting here in Maryland, and also out west for that matter, but why don't we focus our attention on all these map icons in Maryland. Here's where we left off, and let's zoom in, because there is a lot of icons and a lot of information going on here. So, looks like the Union has researched the Corps system officially, and we see a lot more Union organizations and a lot more engaged Union commands, as they are all sieging our Confederate force. Beauregard's army now besieged in Washington, D.C. from almost all sides now. As you can see here, 2nd Corps, 27,000 men almost. Actually, looks like their actual strength is only 9,400 if I'm reading this right. The unit is currently engaged in a siege combat and will hold its position and exchange light skirmishes along the line. No one wants to commit to an engagement, but our plan as the Confederates was to take the Army of Shenandoah under Benjamin McCulloch, our disgraced boy from out west, to maybe make something happen. And he is sending Cox's Corps of 25,000 men to Frederick with the support of Preston's Cavalry Corps that had to abandon his raid along Baltimore because I had a feeling that he was not going to be able to hold against a significant Union attack. So he got Preston out of there, plus he was suffering supply issues as he could not raid and forage enough supplies in Baltimore. He had wiped it clean once already, and there was scarcely anything left in Baltimore. So much so that the once Confederate supported Maryland is now zero support for the Confederate cause. They at one point had actually joined the Confederacy that I was unaware of at the time, and a week later we decided to raid Baltimore. The Marylanders were not happy about that. See, the Army of Potomac is entrenched, but only 12,000 strong, so this is where I think the Army of the Shenandoah can really impact and take out 12,000 men at Frederick, Maryland, while the rest of these Union forces are distracted with their siege of Washington, D.C. Magruder's Corps is holding the bridge out of Washington, D.C. so that if things go bad, Beauregard can get out of there. But so far as we can tell, Army of Potomac with their 12,000 or so men, Army of the North with another 19,000. The total command of the Army of Shenandoah in Maryland, the Union Army of the Shenandoah, totaling 52,700 men, split up into at least 2 corps. 1st Corps only about 17,000 strength, and 2nd Corps about 9,400. There's also the Army of Northeastern Virginia with 17,000 men. So you can tell the Union is preparing a major siege and breakthrough in retaking of Washington, D.C. There are also reports of the Army of Minnesota and Army of Indiana lining up on the Pennsylvania and West Virginia border near Cumberland, Maryland. So this brings us back to our newly formed Army of Kentucky. That was the idea with the Army of Kentucky, was that they were to guard the invasion of Kentucky. There was concern that there might be an invasion of Kentucky. Now it looks like the Union will not even deal with Kentucky at all. This might present an opportunity. So Joe Johnston's original orders were to start fortifying Kentucky. We may be fortifying Kentucky for an eventual invasion into Ohio across Maysville or even Cincinnati. Threatening Cincinnati, maybe that will draw off forces from the Eastern Theater. We have our depot ready already at Harrodsburg. So Archer's Corps finishing the Harrodsburg depot in front of the Kentucky River. So Johnston with new plans and new orders to press a campaign into northern Kentucky and threaten Cincinnati and even possibly capture that city if unopposed by any major resistance. Then we have another incursion into southeast Missouri as the Army of the Northwest has sailed down the Mississippi, 25,000 men, after we had eliminated McClellan's army, the Department of Ohio, which maybe is renamed to the Department of the West. We don't see the actual Department of Ohio anymore, which was McClellan's command. But it looks like Albert Sidney Johnston has his army fully ready as all his commands are in the green readiness. So an attack against the Army of the Northwest should succeed, as Zollicoffer's Army of Missouri is holding these reinforcements in place, as they looks like they are garrisoning and entrenching in and around Belleville, Illinois, trying to prevent an invasion of Illinois. We were getting ready to invade deep into Illinois, but we may have to deal with this Army of the Northwest. We do not want 25,000 men in our rear. So that must mean we must send Hood and Buckner. We'll send Hood and Buckner to deal with this new Union threat in southeast Missouri. Let's see if we can't send Hood, catch him on the banks of the Mississippi. We will send Buckner. They're probably going straight for Cairo, so we'll send Buckner back to Cairo. Wheeler will actually stay in Pinckneyville and keep eyes on the northern part of that area. We'll actually give him a defensive stance, which sounds odd for a cavalry corps, but he's doing a rear guard action now. Price, what do we do with Price? Do we hold him at Shawneetown Ferry? Yeah, we're gonna hold him there, because if we can quickly deal with the Army of the Northwest, we will continue with our plan into dividing the Union via Chicago. There's two more departments, two more armies forming up. Army of the West with 27,000. The Union might just have too much manpower. We might have to just keep doing an active offensive, defensive. I don't know if a deep thrust into Illinois is viable, but we will continue with our offensive defensive strategy. Tillman is in. Oh no, he's still arrived. No, he is in. I'm sorry. Tillman is in Springfield. He has set up his headquarters, waiting for the rest of his command, though, to arrive. John Pegram with his cavalry. Where is Lee's division exactly? Okay, Lee's division is actually with Tillman at Springfield. Well, Tillman, being impatient, is going to investigate Fort Scott without the cavalry. Oh, he is in the orange readiness, so he cannot make any offensive operations. Well, we can get busy building a telegraph, though. Armistead's Corps is ready. We are actually going to march him. So, with our new idea of using the Army of Kentucky to put pressure on southern Ohio and the Ohio River to draw off forces from the east, or hopefully draw off forces from the east, we're going to send Armistead now, instead of Evansville, we're going to send him to Louisville, Kentucky. Make his presence known in that city and say hello to the residents across the Ohio River in Indiana. Fortunately, Johnston himself is not ready. We're actually going to change Archer's stance to offensive, and we should probably change that to Johnston. Oh, his stance is still at offensive. Let's send Kell's squadron down. Maybe they can assist in disrupting the Army of the Northwest. It's hard to tell. It looks like the Army of the Northwest has already landed across the river. Cox's Corps is already ordered to attack. Preston's Corps will be also ordered to attack. My concern is that McCulloch's headquarters near Harper's Ferry might not actually be in headquarter range. So I'm trying to get him over to Hagerstown to set up headquarters there so that he can use the mountain pass to get orders to his commands more properly. We also have this Department of Interior that we created. I think situations in Maryland have become so extreme that William Bate might be a good corps to send and transfer to the Army of Shenandoah. I'm leery of trying to push transferred soldiers into Beauregard's army because of fear of them getting trapped in D.C. So if we can add forces to McCulloch's command trying to relieve Beauregard from Hagerstown, western Maryland, from that side of Maryland, and draw forces away from Washington, D.C., Beauregard might be able to break out into the Baltimore region again. See, Bates' Corps is not even really a corps. One thing, I wish I could take Bate and just add him to Cox's Corps, and then it would automatically make Bate the division commander. Alright, so we did create a new division in Cox's Corps. Wickman is the division commander, so we're just going to send the brigades directly to Wickman. Bate will stay a corps commander under Porterfield, and again, we'll keep adding newer troops to the Department of the Interior instead of directly to the frontline units, unless we know exactly we want to reinforce those frontline armies. I'm actually going to replace Smith with a different commander. Oh, we have our political generals. Oh, here we go. Henry Heth. He has the infantry branch of arms modifier, so we'll assign him. It will be available in 8 days. Might not be enough time though to partake in the battle, but they'll be there soon enough. They might make a difference. Even if battle is fought, it might make a difference in the campaign overall. Looks like we have a lot of volunteers available. We can create more units. So we're going to create another division or so under Porterfield. And while they muster in the interior and get ready, then we can send them out to wherever we need them. We're going to use the auto-generate. Gustavus Smith. That's a pretty good assignment. Engineer, veteran, West Point grad. I'm biased against non-portrait generals. We might be able to directly reinforce Magruder, which we already had. Branch will be ready in 6 days, and Martin's artillery in 12 days. We're going to promote Polk to a division command. James Deschler will take over, and we'll replace Davidson, Leonidas Polk. We'll try to do another 2-in-1 division here. Not enough men, it looks like. Enough for a small one. We have a South Carolina and West Virginia brigades. Imboden. We'll leave him there. Ray. Colonel Dandridge McRae. Fletcher H. Archer for the artillery. And they will be ready in, a long time. It's going to take them a long time to form up, so that's kind of why frontline almost kind of justifies my idea of creating these divisions behind enemy lines, even though the extra transfer to the front might take a little bit more time. But now I've taken Polk out of his command, so if battle were to happen, Polk would be without a command on the field of battle. I mean, I can change that now, but we're going to leave it as it is. You can also use the, like in Johnston's situation, we can actually reinforce him with another division. Only enough to make one more brigade, but they'll be attached directly to Johnston's headquarters. Then we can divide them up into the respective corps. That's another way to do it for organizational purposes. You can see, if you haven't, you can see we are experimenting with the idea of the attaching directly to Army headquarters, like an engineer brigade. So we are going to start off by watching the developments of March 25th. So they're even moving. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. I see Union Corps moving. We're about to hit daylight of the 26th. We have units routing. Looks like some of our units are routing, as siege combat has been going on for a couple months now. Union unit has routed. Another Union unit looks like they have routed. I don't know, it looks like Lee's Corps, though, suffering combat casualties. We head into the late night of the 26th. Army of the Shenandoah trying to reach Frederick, Maryland. So let's advance McCulloch's headquarters forward. Looks like the Army of Minnesota is coming to get into the rear of the Army of Shenandoah. I'm gonna have to be careful of this. Porterfield's command is not ready. Right, and Armistead still has not received the orders to move out. Johnston's readiness is in the red. I don't think it was apparent at the time of this recording, but attaching the recruiting brigades to the Army headquarters actually makes readiness lower. Well, it looks like the Army of the Northwest is encamped on the western bank of the Mississippi, kind of in the wilderness of southwest Missouri, or southeast Missouri. It should be easy pickings for Hood, although it looks like there are some reinforcements coming. So 36th Army, 25,000 men. Gregg only has 9,000. Zollicoffer's whole command is about 15,000 in total. But Blanchard and Gregg are ready to move out if necessary. See, St. Louis Division only 5,000. Interesting. Zollicoffer's kind of paralyzed because I do not want to move out of St. Louis and potentially lose St. Louis. I like that he's entrenched. Gregg is entrenched in St. Louis, so. But then the 6,000 men of Blanchard's St. Louis Division, I mean, we can try to get them to support Hood's attack. 35th Army, 25,000 men. Another 25,000 men of the Army of Mississippi. They're like twin armies here. Probably should call Price over, and that is what we'll do. Price is given orders to come back to Pinckneyville. If anything, we should use St. Louis Division to come down into Fredericton and take the depots there. So that's what Blanchard will be ordered to do. All right, let's watch the next day in the West, where we are in 4 o'clock in the evening on the 27th. So A.S. Johnston's Illinois campaign has finished before it even started, and now begins what will be called the Johnston's River campaign to stop the Union advance into Missouri yet again. So we're at the morning of the 28th. Fortunately, the problem with Hood's situation is that the Army of the Northwest is already across the Mississippi. all the Union movements now, trying to help. They see that they need to come into the aid of the Army of the Northwest. Hood is just stalled out. Hare is withdrawing. Hare is withdrawing. That is a Union commander. Army of the Potomac is reported to have withdrawn in face of our troops. That was the Army of the Potomac. That he was in Frederick, wasn't he? Yes. The Army of the Minnesota, though, in our rear. So Lee's Corps, this unit is currently engaged in a siege combat and will hold its position and exchange light skirmishes along the line. The Union will win this engagement with a probability of 53%. Estimated length of the engagement, 86 days. And try to assault with Ewell's Corps. If readiness is high enough, leave the safety of the entrenchments to attack in an attempt to carry the enemy works in open battle. Low on ammo. Rifle ammo is 54%. That doesn't sound too good. Can Lee not assault because he's in the yellow readiness? We are going to press forward with the Army of the Shenandoah. We're going to strike at the Army of the North. The Koch's Corps and Preston's Corps. We got to get McCulloch's headquarters, though, forward. Alright, let's finish the night of the 28th. Army of the Potomac has slipped away and is now pulling back further. Unit routed. Rear guard action. Several units routing. We do have Preston's Corps set to scouting. Now, because they are organized into a full corps, they'll be able to participate if battle is engaged. So it's middle of the day of the 29th. It looks like Lee's Corps is suffering several routes. He is able to assault if need be. Now it becomes a situation of, do we try to assault and maybe would we, I don't know if we would engage all these other units though. So lots going on and lots to look at as we have to bounce around from east to west because things are happening at the same time. Looks like the Union Army crossing in between Cairo and St. Louis into Missouri. We're going to try to take that approach. It's kind of risky because there's not real good infrastructure and we have them kind of cut off. Buckner could try to, if we can take the depot at Fredericton with Buckner's Corps. So you have to imagine the Union armies here are going to struggle for supplies. And then Wheeler's Cavalry Corps can kind of... let's try to take Salem maybe? And then that way they captures another supply depot that they might be drawing supplies off of. Like we set another raid and just raid Salem. But we have to wait 4 hours before we can reissue orders to Wheeler. There's 4 army elements now to deal with. And according to reports, that's we're going to be dealing with 100,000 men in total. So we really need to get Hood to engage this corps here and quickly. Price is marching and over and maybe able to support. Looks like we're going to have to march Hood back to Cairo and using the ferry get across. We'll watch the remainder of the 29th going to the March the 30th over on the Eastern Front. In the early morning of March 30th, you see the Army of Potomac retreats all the way to Annapolis. So that leaves the Army of the North vulnerable. As if we can get a local manpower advantage against them. So March 30th comes and go, and just more siege skirmishing going on. McCulloch at destination. Army of Minnesota reported they have 25,000 men. That seems to be the ideal number for the AI. All right, let's go. Let's go through March the 30th now. Let's see if we can't get a battle here against the Army of the North going. Right, early morning, and we have rain, although it's not rain in McCulloch's department. Let's see, okay, good. They're on the move. They're on the move. Come on, can he get battle engaged? It's already in the afternoon. They're very slow to move right now. Looks like Lee's corps is suffering quite a bit, actually, in this siege. So no engagement on the 30th, or on the 31st. We're going to have to wait until April, I think. Wounded in action. Colonel Bragg wounded again. No, he recovered. That's good. That's right. He was wounded. Now he's recovered. We technically have 16 Confederate invasions. Half of them Preston's Corps. So we've recaptured Frederick, Maryland. Early morning of April 1st. April Fool's Day is upon us. Who will be the fool in this day's battle? Preston's Corps start an engagement with the Army of the North. We got command. Oh, they're retreating. They're retreating. Hancock withdrawn. Oh, I wonder if that will lift the siege. So Preston's Corps is now currently engaged in the siege. It's not at all what I want. It's be breaking the siege. Even though it looks like we'll open a supply line through Frederick, Maryland, directly into Washington, we let the Army of the North get away. Okay, so Army of the North retreats all the way to Annapolis, near Fort McHenry. So now you have 3 of the Union commands in the west on the Missouri, or I keep on calling the Mississippi the Missouri. Now you have 3 commands on the Mississippi River trying to reinforce the Army of the Northwest. This depot falls into Union hands. Send Price over there. Buckner's Corps is... we need to halt him. Actually want him to... we need to halt him and try to engage the Northwest Army. Hood's Corps is encamped on his way to reinforce. So Blanchard will be tasked with capturing the Fredericton Depot, and that frees up Buckner really to halt his orders and then join Hood in dealing with these Union armies coming off the Mississippi River. This depot back too. Shawneetown. Lee has 21,000 men. Let's see if Lee can stage a breakout. 11 o'clock at night, so we're not going to do that now. And if you've made it this far into the video, please hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment. I do appreciate you watching. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. So it's 5 in the morning. Combat action, 70 casualties. Lee is going to try to assault and break the siege. Let's see who's all how much we are able to bring to battle and how much the Union is able to bring to battle. So things don't look very good off the bat. Pillow, James, Clayton, and Lee all are demoralized already. Although we have 41 engineering points. Our scouts report the enemy is near Maryland, and our army is to prepare for battle. We are facing Army of the Shenandoah under command of Thornton Broadhead with strength of 37,000 men and 91 guns. The enemy Army is green and morale is reported to be stable. Reports indicate their supply situation is outstanding. The supply state of our army is outstanding. Anything about reinforcements for us? So I don't see any Union objectives. So can we just fortify and then they have to attack us? 41 engineering points. That's really good. I'm worried about armies wavering. So it looks like the condition of our army is kind of sketchy, but reports sound like the Union Army is also not in terribly good shape. This should be an interesting battle that is coming up. So I'll see you on the next one. I appreciate your time.